Welcome, everybody. It's your boy, the VSW Donor. We have another episode of VSW. Today, we have a very special guest, the one and only Milo Mirra. Welcome.
Hello. How's it going?
Oh, doing good. Doing good. Thanks for coming on. I've been a fan for quite a while now.
It's sweet. I'm glad to hear it. I always love talking to fans. So yeah.
So let me ask you. I first caught a glimpse of you not too long ago at Rad Pro, but when did you actually get into pro wrestling?
Yeah. So I started training in August of 2022 at the New England Pro Wrestling Academy. It's been about just over 2 years now. Yeah, that I started wrestling.
Nice. And one of the greatest schools out there, I think, in the area. Probably one of the top.
For sure.
They've produced some amazing stars from the past, and even the people that are out there today. Just represent very well across New England.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. I'm definitely very, very proud to be a member of the New England Pro Wrestling Academy and train there. So, yeah.
Now, is this something you always wanted, like childhood dream, or is it something you kind of got into later in life?
Yeah, so I've always been a fan of wrestling. So I got into wrestling when I was a little kid. My older brother is 12 years older than me, and he loved pro wrestling. So when I was little, I used to watch all of the VHS tapes he had of wrestling. Specifically, I remember he had like the ECW VHS tapes.
Oh,
And
nice,
so
nice.
from the 90s. So I was like probably 7 or 8 years old watching Mike Awesome and Masato Tanaka go at it a bunch. That really kind of started my love of pro wrestling. I fell out of it a bit when I was in high school. I didn't really watch as much. And then when I went to college, I met a buddy at college orientation who was super into wrestling. And we talked about wrestling again. And I fell back in love and started watching. I was watching all the weekly shows of WWE, and then any independent wrestling I could get my hands on. So I've been a fan my whole life. And then once I graduated college, I just decided, there's no better opportunity than now to just give it a shot. I've always wanted to try. So I went to a one-day fantasy camp at NEPA and fell in love with doing it, and then just signed up for a year of training the next day. So, yeah.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I went to one of their fantasy camps. You think it had to be either 21 or 22. I don't remember because the pandemic ended in 21, probably like 22.
Mhm.
But it just mesmerized me going to that camp because you watch it on either on TV, you watch Chaotic on Twitch even, right? Or you go to the show live. Everything looks so flawless. Everything looks so easy. Everybody's doing everything,
Yeah.
flawless, like I said. But you go to the training camp and the first thing they're showing you, easiest thing, run the ropes, and it's like, okay, that's easy, but it's also very painful. You get, all sorts of bruises up here, and then they're like, you're gonna do these bumps, and it's very unnatural. It's not a natural thing to make yourself fall. Getting in and out of the rope, I still have a scar from just hitting the apron on the outside.
Oh yeah.
I scraped the bottom of my leg, and I was like, ugh. And then the hardest thing I thought, and it was crazy because I had to have like mortar hold my hand, was jumping off the top rope.
Yeah.
On TV, well, first of all, as a kid, you get wrestling figures, you get a ring, right? You play with them. There's one thing about the turnbuckles; they're pretty stable. At least when I had Hasbro, it was like a little platform. So
Yeah.
I was thinking, well, they're standing on a platform jumping. But it's not really the case. They're not really on that post. You're standing on two ropes that are like both trying to take you down.
Yep.
It's totally like a crazy experience. You have to have balance, center of gravity, like everything into play. But you see people just hop up and hop over and do all sorts of tricks with it, and it's like, that's impressive. There's nothing,
Yeah.
I don't think, anything easy about being a pro wrestler. And again, I've done some other, training camps and other things and just learned other tricks and stuff. Just because I too was interested in wrestling. Coming out of high school, I wanted to be one. But at that point,
Yeah.
I was 140 pounds and I was 5'8". And in that like era of wrestling, the big man was not popular. It
Yeah, for
wasn't even
sure.
really heard of. So they're like, well, maybe you could do this or that or this. And I'm like, I want to be a wrestler. I'm not going to do it. So I went to something that was like weighted out, like boxing, amateur boxing.
Mhm.
But, you know, like I said, over the years, that's always been something, a passion of mine. So I did other things and like, I started a podcast and to get, a better understanding, I would join these camps and stuff. So like I said, like it's not easy. How were
Yeah.
those first weeks like? Was it what you expected training to be like, or was it like, oh, I'm throwing up every night?
Yeah, so I kind of I have a pretty strong athletic background, right? I played D1 Ultimate Frisbee in college, and I was a professional pogo sticker before I was a wrestler. A lot of stuff came pretty easily to me. It's funny you said the top rope thing. Jumping off the top rope was one of the harder things for you. That was probably like where I feel the most comfortable in a wrestling ring is jumping off the ropes, just because it feels so similar to jumping off a pogo stick. So I that's like where I'm comfortable. But like in those first weeks, I think something that surprised me from wrestling training is just how sore I was from everything. Like literally everything in a wrestling ring hurts like when you're first starting. Your body eventually calluses and gets over it, but like when I first started, like my every day I would come home, my back would be hurting me. All of my muscles were sore, like muscles I didn't even know I had were sore and like cramping, and I was like, oh my god, what's going on? And it was tough to get through for those first couple weeks. It really took a lot of like a mental of like getting in my car and driving and being like, oh man, I'm gonna go do this again. But it was just so much fun every time. The camaraderie of like all my fellow students, just getting to like hop into a wrestling ring and just try things that like when I was a kid growing up in the backyard on the trampoline, we would try to like do wrestling moves on each other, and now I get to like actually learn how to do it and learn how to like do it safely, and put on a good performance for people. And that is like it's I every day I walk into NEPWA, I am incredibly grateful for my trainers and what I get to do. So um yeah, I love
But
it to death.
I think that strong athletic background, or even just having a strong athletic approach to it,
Yeah.
is a good way to go. Like I said, I went into amateur boxing, and pretty soon, I did similar things with join these team trainings, and you have all group of guys, and for the first hour, almost every training is literally just straight cardio, 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 and then it's like doing weights and doing stuff for
Yep.
your abs and doing core exercise and just becoming building your endurance, building your strength, and building your stamina. So, those 6 minutes, it was only 6 minutes we were fighting, but so it wouldn't feel like 6 hours because
Yeah.
unconditioned, you get gassed in 20 seconds just by thinking too hard.
Mm-hmm.
And never mind what's coming at you in the punches. But I'm guessing that's similar in wrestling, like besides all the cool stuff you get to learn how to do and all these new moves you get to add to your repertoire, you have to
Oh
have
yeah.
that baseline. Hey, I am, in shape enough to go the distance. I can do this without
Yeah.
being tired. Because as you get tired, then that's how kind of injuries could occur too.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, at NEPWA we do. I think like the first half of class, we have 3 hour classes, and the first half is doing cardio and blow up exercises. Like that's what we do. It's like it's you come out of that first hour and a half of class incredibly tired and incredibly winded.
And then after that, they want you to wrestle. That's when they're like, okay, now
Right,
let's do a
right.
match.
Yeah, exactly. And then after that, you either have to do a drill or you have to wrestle a match. But like it's uh I think it's such a good way to go about training, because if we can spend an hour and a half doing all of these like crazy drills that like get us really really tired, then when we have a 8 to 10 minute match on a show, that seems like nothing compared to what we've trained, right?
Yeah,
And that becomes a lot easier. um
it
yeah.
does. And that's why it looks flawless when you guys are out there because
Yeah.
you are putting in this, weekly work, dedicated work.
Yeah.
Um, so you train there. How long did you end up training before your first match?
So I was training for about 5 months before my first match. So I started, and so my first class was the first week of September of 2022, and my first match was April of 20, like the first week of April 2023. So I think it was about five, like just around 5-6 months that I was
And was
training
that for
before that.
Chaotic directly?
Yeah, so my first match was in Chaotic. It was at the Goffstown show in April of 2023 against Shannon Levangie. That was my first
Oh,
match.
nice,
Yeah.
nice. That's fun. And I
Yeah.
think that's also a cool like kind of benefit of New England Pro is that they do have the chaotic school attached. So it's almost like going to a college and knowing that you can get a job afterwards. It's like you put in as much work, they're going to give you that opportunity because they have that accessibility for you to do that, which is
Yeah.
important. Sometimes you get trained at school and it's like, okay, now I got to go out and get booked, and then you're on your own. And it's just like, well, I don't even know how much to charge. Where do I go? Who do I talk to? Like
Yeah.
it could be, it's some, it's not an easy business.
Yeah, no,
Especially
it
if you're
can be.
engaging it.
Yeah, it can be super scary. I remember when I was first like getting onto shows, it was like definitely I didn't know a lot of things. Like I had a promoter ask me for my booking fee and I was like, I don't even know what I should be asking for a booking fee. And I had to, I think one of the great things about NEPWA is that it's end-to-end training. So like if I had any questions about anything to do with the business other than just the athletic parts of it, Chase and Max Matchmaster were very, very helpful in helping me learn
And
all of
yeah,
that
they
stuff.
teach you that business end of it, which is also important. 'Cause I feel like maybe back in the day that part of it wasn't taught to people. Not just like there, I'm saying just anywhere in general. Like wasn't taught to a lot of students. So they go out, they know how to wrestle, great, they wrestle, but they wouldn't know how to maneuver around the business, and they end up
Yep.
wasting a lot of time doing a lot of unnecessary shows of things they don't need to be doing.
Mhm.
Instead of kind of just getting straight to the point of what the level they're at.
Yep.
And that's kind of where the industry is right now. I feel like the industry's in a really good place where not only like wrestlers are able to thrive and older talent or veterans aren't trying to hold new people back, but also the promotions themselves. They're working not only together but with the talent as well. Talents are pushing
Yep.
promotions more. Everybody's kind of working more together as a scene rather than kind of just my company's here and I'm going to do this and you're over there and you're going to do that. It's like the fan
Yeah.
is the fan. They're going every which way. So, they're going to see you there and there.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just a mutually beneficial thing, right? Like, as if I, as the wrestler, am promoting the show and the promoter, am pushing it as much as I can, right? More fans get into those seats. That makes a better crowd for me to wrestle in front of. That makes the show go on better. It makes a better show for the fans. I think it's more fun when there's more people there to cheer along with. Definitely makes me feel less awkward about starting chants and stuff. So, I think it's just like, I want to promote any and all independent wrestling around me and push all of my friends and wrestlers as well and try and get everybody up to where they want to be, meet their goals. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that is kind of where to be. Now, you said your first match was against Shan Levangie.
Yep.
How do you feel about intergender wrestling into the
Oh,
I
sorry, you
think
cut
you
out there
froze
for
up.
cut out
I'm
there.
sorry.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, how do you feel about intergender wrestling as a whole?
I think it's good. I think like wrestling is I think we all know wrestling is a work, right? So like if we can put on really good entertaining matches and tell really good stories with a man and a woman in the ring, why not? Right?
No, and
Like why not
you
do it?
know what? I totally agree with you. I think when
Yeah.
intergender is done right, I think it's one of the most beautiful arts because I think it can tell a great story. We
Oh
see
yeah.
it cinematically all the time in movies.
Yeah.
You'll be a final girl against some evil killer, and they're chasing her all night long, and they're having fight scenes.
Yeah.
There's not much difference, right? Sometimes you have a bad one. It's like, you got some people that they don't agree, but again, we know what it is, so there's no reason to pretend that we can't do anything because anything can be pretty much done.
Oh yeah.
I think it makes for a lot more interesting matchups too. Now you don't just have to worry about all these divisions. You can have great matchups like you versus Shannon, and she's one of those organs that does do a great intergender match. I remember also
Oh
someone
yeah.
like Ava Everett, great
Yep.
intergender wrestler. Becca was a
Yep.
great intergender wrestler.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite matches I ever wrestled was a tag match. It was me and Armani Chaos against Shannon Levangie and Becca. It was awesome. It was super fun. We had a very great fun match that had a lot of great action. And yeah, it was one of my favorite matches for sure.
And honestly, and plus Chaotic opening the gates with that title, the Panoptic title,
Yeah.
and really allowing anyone to go after it and not
Yep.
holding gender barriers, I think really opened the game up for even more matchups and
Yep.
even more, success. And you had people like Davey Amp feuding with JT Dunn too for the world title, and that was really
Uh-huh.
exciting as well.
Yeah.
Chaotic has been kind of a forefront for that. You've had a women's world champion, you've had all that. So
Yeah.
why not have them fight each other? You're all in the same
Right.
universe per se. I get it. I just always like to ask because some people like they don't like it or they're like I
Yeah.
do it, but it's not something I really believe in or really look at as part of wrestling. But I think it's becoming more popular. Personally, I enjoy it.
Yeah, no, I love it. I actually I'm incredibly grateful that Chaotic is like open to doing all sorts of different types of matchups of wrestling, because I think it gives a lot of people on the roster an opportunity to just showcase their talent. And I think the women on the Chaotic roster are some of the most talented wrestlers in New England, and they absolutely should have the opportunity to showcase against any opponent they want to. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've seen them go head to head, toe to toe, whatever they have to do, and we are, I think, very lucky. We're almost spoiled to the fact that we have all this great wrestling and
Yeah,
wrestlers
yeah.
and stuff. But now you were working Chaotic. That was your first match. You started to work their shows. Did you venture outside of Chaotic at all, or just kind of just
Yeah,
stay with them?
yeah, so I tried, right? Right at the beginning, I think it's like when you're first starting out and you only have like one or two matches, right? It's tough to kind of like get out there and do things with other promotions. It can be tough if you don't have those connections. So a thing I did a lot when I was just starting is I just like drove to shows with all of my fellow wrestlers who were um, on those shows. Like I was definitely going to I was going to Beyond Wrestling when I could. I was going to Limitless Wrestling. I remember the first car ride I took up to Limitless was with Becca and Aaron Rourke, and we had a great time, and I got to meet everybody at Limitless and that sort of thing,
I
help out with
probably
ring
was at
crew
that
and all that
show.
stuff.
I've probably
You
seen you
probably
at shows. I probably
yeah,
have.
probably were.
Because sometimes, number nothing, I'll look around, I'll be like, and I don't say nothing because they're there as fans, but I'll be like, oh, there's a bunch of, Chaotic students, or there's a bunch, it
Yeah,
depends
yeah,
who's on the show. Like sometimes I know, like, you had, well, Ricky Smokes goes up there to Limitless sometimes, and you
yeah.
also had Cashew going up for a little bit.
Oh yeah,
He had his manager there. And so a bunch of the Chaotic kids would go up there to kind of watch and see what's going on. And so like
for sure.
I'd always kind of look around and say, oh wow, these wrestlers, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool. But yeah, I
Yeah,
probably ditch you. But so you started kind of checking out the show and checking out the scene and getting
yeah.
to meet people.
Yeah, exactly. Just trying to like go to a bunch of shows and meet as many people as I could and just kind of build relationships with people. That's like that was the biggest thing when I was first starting. I just wanted to meet everyone and talk to everyone and build relationships, so that we could like get to a point where I was wrestling on a bunch of shows. And it's gotten to that point, right? Like I've worked on, I think this year I've worked in like 12 different promotions. In New England. And I've wrestled in every state in New England except for Vermont at this point. So
Really?
any Vermont promoters want to book me, let me know.
There is
But
great
yeah.
promotions in Vermont, I think. I've
Yeah,
been told.
absolutely.
And one of my, co-hosts on another show lives in Vermont. He's always telling me about these promotions out there. I'll have to send him your info along the way because he always talks to people. But so you wrestled in 12 different promotions. You mind telling me which ones?
Yeah.
I've
So
only seen you in
I've
probably like 5 or 6. I didn't know you worked
yeah,
that
yeah.
many.
So I wrestled at. Let me see if I can name them all off. Let me see. So Chaotic is my mainstay. Rad Pro's a mainstay for me. I've wrestled in RWA a bunch recently. I wrestled in NRG. I wrestled at Tetsu Pro in Connecticut. I've wrestled at Fight Life. I've wrestled. Um, yeah. There's like a show, Wrestling with Character, in Connecticut that I've wrestled on a few
How was
times.
that, if you don't mind me just quickly cutting you out? Was,
Yeah,
was
yeah.
that fun? So I saw
Yeah,
like
wrestle.
previews of that and I was trying to check it out.
Yeah, so wrestling with character is interesting. It's a very different type of show. I think it's more geared towards kids, like little kids, and trying to like put an entertainment product out for them and kind of teach some like life lessons to children through wrestling, which is fun to do. We get to have some like more silly and like comedy based matches in wrestling with character and do some
So
more fun stuff.
1993 all over again.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But
Um,
it's fun. I really like wrestling with character, and I think Kurt, the promoter there, and Nick,
I have to check it out.
they run a really good show.
I saw ads and then I forgot about it. But I have a 6-year-old, so maybe it's something I can bring him to. I'm always trying to find
Yeah,
good fun shows to bring him to.
yeah,
I
it would be
brought him
perfect for that.
brought him to Rad Pro. He loved that. He loves that all the
Yeah.
time. You're one of his top favorite characters.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, he's all excited about it. He told me tonight it was my biggest opportunity in my podcast career talking to you. So this is good. I'm moving places, but I always want to bring them to the chaotic shows, but I feel like some of them run too late. They don't get over
Yeah.
till like 10:30, 11. I'm like, I don't want to drag them that late.
Yeah,
But
that's
like
totally fair.
NCW recently, that was okay. But I'm trying to find, just even more shows to get them out to. Have you done any of the northern promotions? Anything up in Maine?
Yeah, so I've worked for Let's Wrestle in Maine as well, and EWA.
Oh,
I've worked
nice.
for. Yep. Yeah, so those are two promotions up in Maine that I've worked for
And
as
then
well.
you said you've done them all except Connecticut, so that means you must be licensed in New Hampshire.
I am indeed licensed in New Hampshire. I think I actually got my wrestling license in New Hampshire for my first match because that was in Goffstown. So it was a fun little souvenir I have in my wallet from my pro wrestling license
Well,
that I
you
got
never
from my
know when
first match.
somebody's going to decide to run another show out there. You might get booked.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, for
weird
sure.
because everybody in New England isn't licensed except them, and it's just like, oh.
Yeah, for
But there's
sure.
a huge demo out there. All the people from New Hampshire are going to Mass and Maine, or
Oh yeah,
coming down and up. But yeah, I've seen you again in Rad Pro. That's what my son saw. You play a little bit of a
yeah, yeah,
different character. You have a lot of fun with it. He
yeah,
loves the fact that you love Mountain Dew. Do you really
yeah.
like Mountain Dew? Do you really like to
Yeah,
drink
I
Mountain
mean,
Dew?
so nowadays because I'm like so into like fitness and health at the moment, I don't drink normal Mountain Dew most of the time. I drink Diet Mountain Dew, but I do love Mountain Dew. That was like my favorite soda for sure is Mountain Dew Baja Blast.
Nice.
Yeah,
I think it just brings a whole flavor to it, anyways. Of just it's a '90s promotion. Mountain Dew's a very kind of '90s thing. Everybody thinks
oh
about
yeah,
that. If I think of even like a wrestling show back in the day, I'll be like, oh, Mountain Dew and Doritos and my friends. Like that's what we did. That's how we hung out. We had parties for this stuff on a Sunday night.
yeah,
But and then of course you're using. And I didn't really realize you were pro. You got the pogo stick down,
yeah.
and you've gotten some real hype from that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I did have I had a clip go pretty viral a couple weeks ago from my last match at Rad Pro,
Were you
which was
expecting that?
yeah, I mean like so I wouldn't say I was expecting it, but like I always like was hopeful that somebody would see the pogo stick stuff I was doing and kind of like spread it around. So we got that good crowd clip from somebody in the crowd. Walter is his name, and he took this great video from right in the seats, right in the front
Yeah.
row of me hitting the crossbody onto Armani. And it had this great angle, and he caught the whole thing, and it was really, really great clip. And I was like, oh man, I need to cut that up as soon as possible and put that out there because I think this is like
That's a
a
winner.
great clip. Yeah.
I'll always credit Chaotic to like a lot of my success because for the longest time I started a podcast, didn't really know what was going on, but the shorts program had just started on YouTube, just began in
Yeah.
21. They're actually taking a lot of my videos that I had posted prior and turning them into shorts. I have this clip from 21. It was just a finish. It was a finish between Becker and Ricky Smokes at Chaotic's last show that was a taping.
Mm-hmm.
They had loud fans, and for some reason, somehow that one clip of Becker reversing and pinning him got over 10 million views.
Oh yeah.
And just went crazy on YouTube. And then a couple months later, AC Romero hits like 15 million views. And I'm just like, you never know when and what is going to go viral. You never know what is going to take off. So you always want to
Yeah.
take those key moments now and like push it because you never know.
Yeah.
And we live in a very viral world. While yes, the whole match was entertaining, a lot of people are going to remember that spot in particular, and
Yeah.
that gets people to want to watch. I think the whole match.
Yeah. I also think like the pogo stick is such a different thing in wrestling. Like nobody's done it, so the fact that like it's just like a pogo stick involved in a wrestling move is that's new and unique. And I love doing it. And I hope people like watching it. So
Yeah, I think they do. I mean, again, you're always going to get criticism, I feel, with anything. I think Rad Pro in general, or any kind of wrestling that wants to have some fun,
yeah,
I think is going to get criticized for having fun or being goofy or not being realistic. I think we're in that level where like some people just expect because it's wrestling and they know the veils that it needs to be this ultra realistic thing. It's like, no, now that we know all this, it can be the opposite. It can be even more goofy. We don't have to play by those rules anymore. If you want to
yeah,
fight someone that looks like Godzilla, bring them in.
yeah,
I was just watching this Japanese clip. It was like Mario's, and like there was like 3 different Marios and a couple of Luigi's in there, and there was like it was in Japan, and they were just going and having a great old time in the ring with all these Marios and
yeah,
Luigi's. And I'm just like, this is fun. Like this is what wrestling should be about now. Like let's have some fun with it. And I think that's what Rad Pro really does do.
yeah,
Um,
for sure.
and
I think
the fans love it. I know that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think like wrestling is like one of the to me one of the coolest parts about wrestling is that you can do literally anything in the context of wrestling, and if you can make it make sense within like the rules of professional wrestling, you can do it. And that's one of the coolest things to me. Like you said, like you could have someone dressed up as Godzilla, and somebody jumping on a pogo stick trying to knock them off of some fake building that you've put up in a ring. But like that's like if you can like tell a story and make it make sense, that to me is like incredibly entertaining and one of the
I mean,
coolest
yeah. I
things
mean,
about
we saw
professional
a
wrestling.
one
So
year Iron Man match with some very creative
yeah.
finishes and everything, but it told a story, right?
Oh yeah.
You got dark people coming out eyeless. You got all
Yeah.
these, characters coming and going and different people, but at the end of the day, it all tells a story, and you need that to tell a story in wrestling. If it
Yeah.
was just, 2 athletes fighting, then that's no different than UFC or boxing. It's just like,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
story is okay, who's going to be the better fighter? But in wrestling, you want to see more drama than just who's the better fighter. You need to know why they want to be the better fighter. What did this
Yep.
guy do to this guy? Like, there's a whole
Yeah.
lot more why and where and how.
Yeah.
But you brought the pogo stick in, but you were saying earlier that you were professional. How
Yeah.
did that happen? Like, how does that even happen? How do you become a professional pogo
Yeah, yeah,
person?
it's kind of a fun story. I when I was like 8 years old, I got a pogo stick for Christmas, and then I just happened to be like watching YouTube, and one of the featured videos on YouTube that day was a guy doing flips on a pogo stick, and I saw it, and I had just gotten a pogo stick, and my 8-year-old brain went, "That's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I want to try and do that." And so I went out into my garage and I started just jumping on my pogo stick and trying to do tricks. And I thought that was I thought it was super fun. And I was like, how do I get in contact with this guy who was doing flips? Like, is there a community of people doing this, like doing tricks on pogo sticks? And I happened upon a website called xpogo.com. And at the time, this was like mid 2000s, so internet forums were a huge thing, and I found a forum of people who were doing tricks on pogo sticks, and I was like, this is so cool. Like, to me, I was like 9, 10 years old, and I was just like posting my pogo stick tricks on the internet and talking to people about pogo sticks, and I was like, this is super cool. And Xpogo is a company now, and they run shows all over the country, all over the world, like extreme pogo sticking shows. And they run a world championships every year called Pogopalooza. When I was about 15, I went to my first one. and that was in New York City. And I competed, and I did well enough to where Xpogo was like, "Hey, do you want to travel with our stunt team and do shows all over the country? We'll sign you to a contract. You'll get paid, and you can." You can travel and do pogo sticking shows. And I said, I was a high schooler, I didn't have a job. So I was like, yeah, that sounds awesome. I get to jump on my pogo stick and make money doing it. That sounds incredible. Absolutely. And so I turned pro at 16, and I was doing all sorts of stuff. I was traveling. We did some like NBA halftime shows. The Pogo Crew is like a big staple halftime performance for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And
wow.
We also do, state fairs all over the place. Like I spent 2 weeks in Grand Island, Nebraska, doing pogo sticking shows at the Nebraska State Fair. And I've gotten to do a lot of really fun, cool stuff with pogo
That's
sticking over the
awesome,
years.
though. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a little bit older, but it makes me wish I got into like things a little bit sooner. Like when I was at probably age to do like or get into a lot of the athletic stuff, I did some sports, but then I started getting in, computers at the time. Internet started to really kind of pop. Web design was really big. Graphic design was big. And I started to get into that. Music creation, I went to school for all that. So when I wanted to later on in life, I started playing video games, getting into video game creation. I was really big into like the Tony Hawk games and all those, and these fun kind of sports games. So like later in life, like in mid-20s, I decided, well, let me learn one of these things. And so I tried to go skateboarding.
Yeah.
Yeah, not fun when you're like 25. It's not too good.
That's real hard.
Like the bumps weren't bad, but just trying to just learn the memory of what to do is just like, I can't do half of these tricks. And I'm looking at schools, I'm looking at places. I bought a couple DVDs,
Yeah.
I'm like, do I really want to invest in this? It was like, this is something I should have done 10 years ago. But even the boxing, I kind of got in a little late. But at least with that, I was, they'll kind of match you and measure you with people. And there is a master's division when you get a little older. I mean, even now I could still go into amateur boxing if I wanted to. But I always commend those that can do like these extreme sports, because they don't really, even a simple thing like pogo stick, you think it's kind of it's kind of goofy or funny, but when you start doing these like, flips and backflips, it's very impressive.
Yeah. I mean, I pogo is like one of the I think one of the craziest extreme sports ever, because we're just like flying 8-9 feet in the air, doing flips and all sorts of stuff on concrete, doing tricks and falling to our feet on concrete from like 10 feet in the air.
How's the land?
So
do you have to like brace yourself when you land on the stick to bounce back up? Is it like a hard grade?
Yeah, so honestly, landing on the stick is the safest place to land. That's like, if you can get your feet back onto the pegs of the pogo stick and land, that is the safest place, because it'll absorb the impact from that.
So it's got enough shock and stuff.
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
It's just like when one leg's off, or you're like you bounce off or something, and it's just like everything bounces off.
Yeah, I've had my fair share of crazy pogo sticking slams. I mean, like my specialty in pogo sticking was best trick, which if you've ever watched the X Games, like any sort of best trick competition where like people are trying to do their craziest trick, and they fall a lot doing it, and that's the same thing with pogo sticking. Luckily I was able to land a few of those best tricks and win some world championships doing it. But it was. It's hard. You take a lot of slams pogoing.
That's so awesome, though. This is so cool. Like I said, because you hear a lot of things, but you don't really hear very many. Like, oh, I was a pogo sticker. I do pogo sticking. It's one of those things. Like, you hear a lot of people. Oh yeah, I could do skateboarding or maybe like other extreme sports, but pogo sticking very rare. And I probably wouldn't even know there was a professional sport until you told me, honestly. But now I want to see it like as an Olympic sport. I think it should be on the Olympics. Like, let's get you over to the next Olympics, and you can get a gold medal for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Jump, longest jump. They could do a bunch of different games.
I mean, yeah, you're spot on. You don't even know about the sport, but that's at the World Championships every year. Those are some of the things we do. We do like longest jump competition. We do high jump competition, all sorts of those things. So yeah, you're spot
but
on. I mean,
yeah, that would.
yeah,
I mean, I don't want to. Believe me, I'm going to be YouTubing this later. I'm probably going to go down a
yeah.
rabbit hole. I'll probably be up all night watching pogo sticking, but
Oh yeah,
it sounds fun to me. And I'm
yeah,
really glad, honestly, that you brought it to the world of pro wrestling because nobody else
yep,
is doing that. That is very smart. And that's an asset, honestly, because nobody
yep,
can do that really. It takes a special, it's like, again, one thing it's a pogo stick, and now you're doing a pogo stick into a spot, landing that safely, everything just
yeah.
flowing. It's like, real extreme to, extreme to, work extreme. It's a lot, but it looks so cool.
Yeah, I mean I give huge props and credits to any of my opponents who have done a pogo spot with me because it's like a new thing and we're kind of figuring it out on the fly when we try and like plan it out because it's like we've never done it and it's hard to practice, so we kind of just go for it. And so
'Cause
that's
I was gonna ask, do you
yeah.
take like a lot of time to kind of like to work the distancing? Like how far am I gonna actually have to bounce and jump off, or what am I gonna have to like get to? Because if
Yeah,
you
I mean
overshoot,
like
it's no good, and if you undershoot, it's no good. You gotta kind of, like you said, be spot on.
yeah, I mean, like, a lot of the times I just rely on my instincts with it just because I've been doing it my whole life. But like, I definitely, scope some things out and practice them. Like jumping over the top rope into the ring is like a big thing I've practiced a bunch. And then, I kind of, get with my opponent and see if they're cool with me, jumping over that top rope and crossbodying them or doing whatever. I have some more things in the works, but you'll have to tune into Rad Pro to find out, I
Well,
guess.
we will be. I know there is a show coming in October, and then we have, I believe, another one in December, the final one of 95. I can't believe
Yeah,
95 has flown by fast, I have to say.
I know.
Let me ask you, who are you liking on the scene right now? If you have to be outside of Rap Pro or anybody you on the scene right now you're looking to have matches with?
Oh my god, a bunch of people. um, I think what is top of mind right now, who he just won the Limitless Wrestling World Championship, Desmond Cole. Every time I watch Desmond Cole, I am impressed with what he's doing in the ring, and I would love to have a match with him.
Funny
He's one of
story about
them.
him. The
Yeah,
funny story about him is, I first saw him in Limitless, and this was years ago, and I didn't know who he was. Just the name was announced, and I was just mesmerized by the way the energy in the whole room of Yarmouth changed, and everybody just all of a sudden, started chanting "Boofa," and
yeah,
everybody was in this positive, wild mood. And maybe like the last match, they were starting to get a little tired or whatever it was, and it changed. It changed. It was
yeah.
something special to witness, and it's something that's just kind of grown since then even more. I've yet to see that match. There was so many shows on that night
Yeah.
that I did not get to capture and catch that match, but I've heard soon that the replay will be on IWTV.
Hmm.
But yes, that would be a fun match. You and Boofer would give like
Yeah.
really high energy, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. I think we could have a really fast paced, fun match for sure. Um, yeah. Yeah. Bufa's one of them. I got to have one of my dream matches recently in Chaotic. I got to wrestle Anthony Green at Summer Chaos, and that was an awesome time. Anthony Green is the utmost professional, and I'm very grateful to have that match. Aaron Rourke is one. Aaron Rourke is a good friend of mine, and he's taken me to my limit in training and helped me grow as a wrestler. And I would love to be on a show with Aaron Rourke and have a singles match and be able to just like, you know, put on the best match I absolutely could with Aaron Rourke.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's really making a name for himself. I have to say, I mean, another great wrestling school if you're in that area is Creative Pro. They
Yeah.
are a top school. They put out a lot of top students as well.
Yeah.
If you look
For
at an
sure.
AEW card, there's a lot of people from there that came right from Creative Pro,
Yep.
directly. And again, that's just what New England has. All these great schools putting out TV quality stars constantly, not just like
Yeah.
one-time flukes, but like every year, or every, half of the rosters are getting taken and drawn up. I mean, you said Anthony Green. He's
Yeah.
been to WWE. He's half of the
Yep.
champions in Japan right now.
Mm-hmm.
He has killed it not only prior to when he went, but then he's doing it again now. Putting on 5-star matches. Him and Dijak at that Beyond show was amazing. Him versus
Incredible.
Channing Thomas was an amazing match at Vacation Land. That had me at the edge of my seat. And the fact that he's able to right now, train the kids at New England Pro Academy, that's a benefit. That's a huge asset. You can learn a lot because he's been there. He's been to the next level. And the names you mentioned, these are the kids right now that are at that stage. That, you could see them in the next year be on TV.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like, I think it's like one of the things, like, I mean, like Aaron Rourke, I think I personally believe is one of the best wrestlers in New England, and I would not be shocked to see him on television very soon. So I'm hoping I get to have that singles match with him at some point soon.
And I've seen him play both roles so great. Like when I first saw him, he was in Beyond and he was hated. I mean, they were, just throwing the boos and he was playing it off great. When I saw him enter Limitless the last time, he was loved, favored to win. People were cheering, chanting, and he played that very well too.
Oh yeah.
He's one of those versatile wrestlers, and he's also one of those guys that keeps getting better and better, keeps learning with the progress. And that makes, the next level wrestler, I think, is if you can keep progressing, you keep learning, keep getting better and better, you're going to get to that next stage. You're going to be that, AG. You're going to be that even Dijak, getting out there.
Yeah.
He's another one coming back. He's working with students. He's training.
Yeah.
And he's also getting, great shows, and people are getting to work great matches with him as well. So there's a lot of great opportunity, I think, in New England right now. Any promotions you're looking at? Are you trying to expand outward anywhere?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to wrestle for Limitless. I've just been amazed with every card they've put on ever since I started wrestling. Limitless is a big one for me that I would love to wrestle for. I would love to wrestle for Wrestling Open and Beyond as well. Those are 2 goal promotions for me. Be able to have a weekly spot on Wrestling Open would be incredible. I mean,
you worked Let's Wrestle though, right? That's kind of like the underbelly of Limitless, but not the same as Yarmouth. The Yarmouth's a little bit different.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, you're that NXT worker trying to get onto that WWE, main stage. And I feel like that for some of the guys. And when they do, it's great. Because it is that kind of move up feeling. You've gotten to that rank of now I'm part of the Limitless history. And it does include people, like MJF and Christian Casanova and, Anthony Green, Channing Thomas, Big Beef, all these people, Rip Bison, another one, just really soared going overseas. And that's another thing, overseas is really big now. Do you have any desire to wrestle out of the country?
I mean, my number one dream goal in wrestling is to wrestle in New Japan. When I was in college, I watched so much New Japan Pro Wrestling and watched a ton of the G1 Climax. I have a poster on my back wall here of the Kenny Omega Goto G1 Climax final. And that is that would be my absolute dream is to wrestle in the G1 Climax in New Japan. It's a lofty goal, but
it could happen though. I mean, you're still young and you're still just building a career, and who knows who's going to see that Pogo stick shot. They might want to just be like, you know what? Let's just take this guy. Let's go. Let's run with it.
I'm hoping.
But it is a time for that people are traveling and are getting to go to other countries and do that even more now so than I feel than ever before. And it's great to see that because then we get people coming here and it's like we're getting different culture wrestling. We're getting, locker rooms are learning different things. People are, exchanging ideas. It's a very rich culture right now in the indie scene. I have to say, over the years, my love for wrestling, it hasn't diminished. It's just changed. WWE kind of took a step back. As, I've watched the major events. I'll see what's going on. I have tickets and stuff that come across. AEW, same thing. Sometimes I'll check a show. But my main focus is the indie scene. I find it very exciting because it's very fast-paced. the storylines I can get involved in because I can go see it live. I can see it unfold
Mhm.
before my eyes, and I can get close to it. It's tangible. I can talk to
Yep.
you. I can talk to
Yep.
somebody. Um, to do that with a WWE star would cost either A, a lot of money, or B, it's out of the reach. They can't do it.
Yep.
Contract reach. I've hit
Yep.
that road many times trying to hit stars up there. Like I wish I could, but contract, contract, contract.
Yeah,
And
for
I
sure.
and I get that, but the indie scene, even in general, as a fan, just going, let's say no podcast, you can see, you can buy a ticket for as low as $10 to Wrestling Open every Thursday night. Stand
Yeah.
front row at the ring, see the action right in front of you. You can't get
Yep.
that kind of value when you're seeing TV level caliber wrestlers. It's just, they're not on $1 million set. The pyrotechnics might not be there. The big Titantron isn't there. The big stadium isn't there. But the wrestlers and the wrestling is there.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, for
know.
sure. Yeah, I mean, I feel that as well. I think like my love for wrestling has changed. Becoming a pro wrestler, like I definitely how I watch wrestling has changed a lot. A lot of the times it can be tough to watch like as a fan anymore. Like I just notice a lot of things that I didn't notice when wasn't wrestling. But um, there's a lot of like on the independents when I watch a lot of matches. There's so many matches I watch nowadays that just like get me gripped back into being a fan again. And like I think one of the best one of the best things is when I'm watching a wrestling match of one of my friends wrestling and they like get me with a false finish and I'm like, oh, you got me with that one. And I know how wrestling matches are put together, right? But you got me with that false finish, and that's like one of the coolest things because then I can go talk to them and be like, dude, that was great. Like that spot was
So you
awesome,
can so you
and
can
you
still
got me.
pop for like you can still pop as the fan, but
Oh
you
yeah,
also appreciate what's going on.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, through and through, I am a fan of professional wrestling. I that's like all I watch. I watch Bills football and professional wrestling.
so it's
So
like what would you say watching tape or like even older stuff or newer stuff or different stuff? Would that be kind of part of training? Just kind of picking
oh
up
yeah,
different maneuverisms and things,
yeah.
mannerisms.
I mean, I try to watch as much wrestling as I can because it even like you generally don't want to like you don't want to copy spots, right? But like you can always watch different wrestlers and different promotions and older stuff and newer stuff. And you can find little things that you see I see stuff and I go, "Oh, that would work really well for me." Right? That kind of fits my character. I can pull that into my game. I can rework it and put one of my moves there instead of doing this exact spot, but I can find different ways to get in and out of moves or like different things I had never thought about to like work an arm or like work a leg or different holds, like all sorts of stuff that I just like you wouldn't know if you just didn't watch pro wrestling, right? Like you just wouldn't know to
Yeah,
try it.
no,
Yeah.
and like I said, even if you take, you're not taking the whole spot, but if you take, just like I said, sometimes just mannerism, just the way
Yeah.
somebody executes a move. If you incorporate that with your own style, then it
Yeah.
becomes something new. And any
Absolutely.
other professional or anything like you'll see movies, they'll make remakes and reboots, or they'll use little not the Easter eggs or throwbacks or something. They'll be like, oh, that's from that guy. And with being in the sport, like if you were to do something that's almost can be a tribute in certain ways, depending on how done, instead of like looking at, oh, that's copying. It's like, no, he's
Yeah.
tributing that wrestler.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
see that as well too. Even with the on the indies, sometimes they'll do finishing moves for somebody that may have been their childhood hero or something. You'll see people do
Yeah.
the stunner, but it's more of a
Yeah.
tribute. They're not trying to copy. They're not trying
For
to
sure.
steal. It's like they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But again, that's the fun part of wrestling. It doesn't have to always make sense, and sometimes the fan can come out
Yeah.
and still be okay with it.
Yeah.
Again, because a lot of the wrestlers I talked about, 90% TV or be part of that person on TV. Something to do with it, and you know, again, that's a childhood dream. And seeing these, guys and girls be able to actually, be wrestlers, that's amazing to me because that's living your dream,
Yeah.
and not a lot of people can say they get to do that. A lot of people dream and don't get to do
Yeah.
it.
I every single time I step through the curtain, I am filled with joy and that like childhood wonder of like comes back to me. Like I get thrown back to like being in my bedroom playing with my WWE action figures or like the cardboard championship belts that I had made, and like I get to come out and be a pro wrestler, and it's so cool.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So let me ask you, where can we find you coming up? Where are we gonna see you?
Yeah, so we have some big stuff brewing with the GGC and Chaotic Wrestling. We just added a new member to the group. Max Smashmaster has joined us.
It's a big pick me up.
It is a big pickup. So yeah, we're building some stuff at Chaotic. I'll be at Rad Pro in October. I also have some dates coming up with RWA and EWA. So yeah, keep a lookout. I follow me on Instagram and Twitter and stuff. I usually at the beginning of the month I'll usually post a schedule post of where I'll be for the month. So that should be coming soon.
Awesome. I know I'll be at Rad Pro. Maybe this will be the month I can get to RWA. I mean, there another one on my list of like promotions I need to get to. It's just a matter of figuring out timing with children, wife, everything else, and just going, okay, let me go to Rhode Island.
Yeah.
But one of these days I will, because I heard the wrestling over there is getting better and better every show.
Yeah.
And they're really putting on a lot of special matches and a lot of special stuff is happening up there. And you know, I've seen the clips, I've seen some of the stuff, talked to some of their guys and girls as well. And again, just tremendous stuff coming out of there. Same thing with EWA. A lot of, you know, like I said, right now we're in a boom era. New England has some of the best wrestling. What if somebody was looking, you say, you know, wanted to do this, what would you say the best way to do it would? Just go right in for it, go to the school, join, sign up.
Whenever I'm asked this question, the best way to start professional wrestling is to just try to start professional wrestling and find a reputable school by you that has a promotion connected to it, and try and just go to training. Just talk to them. Go tour the school. Go see if it looks like it's for you, and try it out. There's so many good schools in the New England area that you can go to and try out. And obviously, I'm going to shamelessly plug my school. NEPWA is a great welcoming community. And if you want to try it out, they run one-day fantasy camps twice a year, and you're also welcome to just come tour the school and see a night of training and sign up for training whenever at NEPWA. So. Yeah,
definitely. Like I said, I can vouch even, you know, on the other side, that fantasy camp, even if you're a fan, you want to see what it's like, what it can do, even if you know you're not going to have a career in wrestling, I still recommend for the price point worth the time. You'll get to be in the ring with some of your, you know, probably favorite chaotic guys and girls. You'll get to see some of the top trainers in New England. They're going to tell you almost anything that you want to know. That some pretty cool information.
Yeah.
And again, you're going to experience something that you probably always wanted to do deep down as a fan, and you'll do it safely. You're not going to leave getting hurt. Right. And it's something you'll have with you. So I do recommend it almost for anybody who's a fan of wrestling. Even if you don't want to get into it and you don't think you're going to go for it, I would still recommend that fantasy camp to have some fun and check it out because it is something that you can, you know, like I said, it will give you more of an appreciation as a fan for sure. It'll heighten that. Where can folks find you personally on social media? You said Instagram you're on?
Yeah, so mostly I post updates on Instagram and Twitter. You can find me, it's Milo Mirra _ no spaces. And that's my tag on both. I update pretty regularly on both of those. So
awesome. That is great. Well, I can't wait to see you out there, whether it be, you know, wrestling, pogo sticking, and doing all the other great stuff. Thank you very much, though, for taking the time coming on. It's been a pleasure. Like I said, I've had my eye for a little bit, and we've waited a little bit, but finally glad that we got to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Versace, for having me on. This has been great. It's been an honor. Thanks.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody at home, for watching VSW. And as always, support indie wrestling. Versace Stoner, out.